Hi, welcome to JDBC tutorial, the complete course for the beginners. Alright. So I designed this tutorial for beginners who want to learn the JDBC concepts and want to use a JDBC in their Java project. Alright. The source code examples in this tutorial are developed using JDK 8 and latest release of JDBC. So we'll be using few of the JDBC features that is released in the latest 4.2. Okay, so JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity, which is a standard Java API for for database independent connectivity between Java programming language and wide range of databases. So before getting started, let's have a look into the tools and technologies that we will be using throughout this JDBC tutorial course. All right. So we'll use a JDBC latest release that is 4.2, and we'll utilize few of the features that are present in a JDBC 4.2, and we will use a JDK 1.8 or later in order to develop a Java programs, and we use Eclipse IDE to develop JDBC examples, and we use MySQL database to store the data. Alright, so these are the tools and technology we'll be using. We will cover the following topics. First, JDBC overview. So in JDBC overview, we'll see what is a JDBC, what is a JDBC API, and what are the JDBC driver types, and next, steps to connect a database with Java. So we'll see the fundamental steps that are required to connect the Java application with the different databases. All right, and we'll see how to connect MySQL database using JDBC. So we'll see an example step by step how to connect MySQL database with the JDB with Java, and we write a Java program to create a table in MySQL database. So we'll see how to programmatically create a table in MySQL database using JDBC, and we will see how to insert a data into MySQL database using JDBC, and we will create a program how to update a data into MySQL database using JDBC, and we will also see how to delete the data from the MySQL database. All right, and we use a prepare statement to perform insert, select, update, and delete operations, and we will see lots of examples using prepare statement interface. All right, and we'll see how to use a batch insert operation using JDBC, and again we use MySQL database in order to we'll use MySQL database to store a data, and we also see how to perform batch update operation using JDBC, and we also see how to perform transactions with JDBC. So basically we develop an example, and we'll see how to what are the steps that are required to perform transaction in JDBC, and also we'll see what are how we can dynamically insert multiple rows into MySQL database using JDBC. All right, so these are the topics we'll be covering in this JDBC tutorial. So let's begin with JDBC overview. All right, so we'll cover the following topics. First, we define what is JDBC. Next, JDBC API, and next we will see the JDBC driver types, and finally we will see the fundamental steps that are required to connect Java application to the database. So what is a JDBC? So JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. Alright, and it's an API that provides industrial standard and database independent connectivity between Java applications and the relational database servers. Alright, so the relational databases like MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, DB2, etc., and the spreadsheets like Excel sheet, and the plat files like CSV files. So we can use a JDBC API to connect Java application with these relational databases, spreadsheets, and plat files. All right. So here you can see the diagram. Here it is a Java application and the database, and we use JDBC API to connect Java application to the relational database. All right. The major databases are supported such as MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, DB2 and many others. Alright, so in further lessons, I will demonstrate you how to use a JDBC API to connect Java application with MySQL database. Alright, to keep it simple, JDBC allows a Java application to connect to the relational database. Perfect. Now let's have a look into the JDBC API. So JDBC API is comprised of two packages, java.sql, javax.sql. Alright, so we automatically get both the packages when we download Java from the official website. Alright, and JDBC API consists of two parts. Alright, the first part is so JDBC API is a part of Java packages in java.sql package. So we use java.sql package API for processing and accessing data stored in a data source using Java programming language. Alright, and the second part is the JDBC driver. So a JDBC driver is a set of Java classes that implement the JDBC interfaces targeting to a specific database. Alright, and JDBC interfaces comes with a standard Java, but the implementation of these interfaces is specific to the database you need to connect to. Such implementation is called a JDBC driver. For example, if you want your application to connect to the MySQL server, then you should have to configure MySQL JDBC driver. Alright, and if you want your application to connect to the Postgres or Oracle, then you should have to configure a JDBC driver for that specific database. Alright, so that is the JDBC driver, and JDBC driver it provides the implementation for JDBC API. So JDBC API it exposes the interface. Alright, it doesn't provide any implementation. Perfect, right? So this is the main feature of JDBC. Because it is a standard API, so you just develop your application code using JDBC API to connecting to the various databases. There is no need to develop a code for different databases. So that's the main advantage of JDBC. So JDBC is just abstraction, and you can provide multiple implementations. Like if you want to connect to the MySQL, then you can use just JDBC driver of MySQL, and if you want to connect to the Oracle, then you can just use the Oracle JDBC driver implementation. Alright, and when you provide a SQL statement to the JDBC driver, it simply passes the SQL to the database. You can make use of SQL to perform select, insert, update and delete operations. Alright, let's have a look into this diagram over here. So notice here it's a Java application. So Java application can connect with any databases. It can query or update the database, and it also receive the results from the database. Alright, and here it is a JDBC API. It contains a JDBC driver manager, and JDBC API it exposes interfaces. Alright, and here are the JDBC drivers specific to the particular database. For example, JDBC SQLite driver for SQLite database, JDBC JavaDB driver for JavaDB database, and there can be a JDBC MySQL driver for MySQL database, Postgres JDBC driver for Postgres database, Oracle JDBC driver for Oracle database. Alright, so all these database vendors have their own JDBC driver. Alright, so they provide their own implementation for the JDBC API. Alright, so as I mentioned, JDBC API it comes with the Java package. Alright, and whenever our Java application wants to connect to the particular database, then we need to configure a JDBC driver for that particular database. Alright, so notice here the flow like Java application uses a JDBC API to connect to the particular database using JDBC driver. Alright, hey, here are the important interfaces and classes that is provided by JDBC. For example, connection statement, PreparedStatement, callable statement, resultset metadata, database metadata, driver manager class. So notice here, except driver manager, these are the interfaces. All right. So, you might be wondering where is the implementation for these interfaces. All right. So as I mentioned, JDBC driver provides the implementation for these interfaces. For example, if you want to connect to the MySQL database, then MySQL database vendor provides their own JDBC driver. All right, and this JDBC driver provides the implementation for these core interfaces. All right, so I will explain each interface with an example and how to use these interfaces in our Java application to connect to work with them, different databases. So I will demonstrate to you everything in upcoming video tutorials. Now let's have a look into what is a JDBC driver and what are the JDBC driver types. All right. So as I mentioned, JDBC driver is a set of Java classes that implements the JDBC interfaces targeting a specific database. The JDBC interfaces comes with the standard Java, but the implementation of these interfaces is specific to the database you need to connect to. Such an implementation is called a JDBC driver. For example, if you want to connect to a MySQL database, then you should configure MySQL JDBC driver. All right, and this MySQL JDBC driver provides the implementation for JDBC interfaces. And one more example is if you want to connect to Oracle database or any kind of relational database. All right, so they offer their own JDBC driver, and this JDBC driver provides the implementation for JDBC interfaces. All right, let's have a look into the JDBC driver types. There are four different types of JDBC drivers. Type 1, JDBC ODBC bridge driver. Type 2, Java native core driver. Type 3, all Java middleware translation driver. Type 4, all Java driver. Alright, so let's have a look into briefly each of these types. Alright, so type 1, JDBC ODBC bridge driver. So this type of driver are generally dependent on the native library, and which limits their portability. All right, and this driver, the type 1 driver, is not supported by Oracle. All right, and type 2 Java native code driver. So this type of drivers are generally written partially in Java programming language and partially in native code. Alright, and these drivers use the native client library specific to the data source which they connect. So again, because of the native code, their portability is also limited. Alright, and type 3 all Java middleware translation driver. So this type of drivers use a pure Java client and communicate with the middleware server using a database independent protocol. Alright, and middleware server then communicates the client's request to the data source. So it is not directly connect to the data source. It uses a database independent protocol. Alright, and type 4 all Java driver. So type 4 drivers are the pure Java and implement a network protocol for specific database or a data source. And the client directly connects to the data source. For example, MySQL connector is a type 4 driver. All right. So this is all about different database, different JDBC driver types. All right. How to install a JDBC driver? So if you have a Java application and if you want to use if you want to connect to a particular database, for example, MySQL database, then you need to configure a JDBC driver, right, for that particular database. Then how to install a JDBC driver for MySQL database? So first of all, you need to download a JDBC driver from MySQL official website, and you need to add a MySQL JDBC driver in a class path of your Java project, and then you are good to go. All right. So you can connect to the MySQL database and you can perform different database operations. Now let's have a look into the fundamental steps involved in the process of connecting to a database and executing SQL queries. Alright, so here are the steps. So first step is import JDBC packages. Next, load and register the JDBC driver. Next, open a connection to the database. Next, create a statement object to perform a SQL query. Next, execute the statement object and return a query result set. Next, process the result set. Next, close the result set and statement objects. And next, close the connection. Alright. So if you look at here, these are the 8 steps. Alright. And let me eliminate few of the steps as per the Java release. Alright. So look at here the second step. This step is not required in Java 6 and in JDBC 4.0 because so if JDBC driver finds a JDBC if driver manager class finds a JDBC driver in a class path, then it will automatically register the driver. Alright, so we no need to manually or explicitly register a driver in a JDBC code. Alright, so driver manager it itself, it will scan the driver in a class path, and if it finds the driver in a class path, then it will automatically register the driver based on the particular database. Alright, and look at here the 7th step. So this step is not required because we use try with resource statement to auto close the JDBC resources. So before Java 7, we use finally block to close the JDBC resources. But Java 7 provides this nice feature, right? Try with resource statement feature. So we can use this feature to automatically close the JDBC resources. So in this JDBC tutorial course, we are using try with resource statement in order to close the JDBC resources. Alright, and look at the final step here. So this step is also not required because again we will use the try with resource statement to automatically close the resources. Alright, let's have a look. So from all these steps, we actually require 5 steps to connect to a Java application to a database. Alright, for example, MySQL database. So the first step is, let me recap. The first step is import JDBC packages, open a connection with the database, create a statement object to perform a query, execute the statement object and return a query result set, and process the result set. So these are the 5 steps we required in order to work with the JDBC. All right, let's have a look into each of these steps in detail. All right, so the first step is import JDBC packages. All right, so JDBC API classes immediately available in the Java program once we import this statement. All right, java.sql.star. And for individual JDBC API classes, you need to import like this. All right, java.sql.connection, java.sql.driver manager, etc. All right, and second step is open a connection to the database. All right, so here you can see these are the overloaded get connection methods available. All right, based on the parameter you can pass the parameters and you can get a connection with a particular database. All right, for example, if you want to connect to a MySQL database, then you can use this get connection method and you need to pass JDBC URL for that MySQL database and username and password for MySQL database. All right, this is how we write a code in order to connect to a MySQL database. All right, and the third step is create a statement object to perform a query. Right, so we can use a create statement method to create a SQL statement. For example, notice here, once we get a connection object, then we can use a create statement object to create a SQL statement. All right, and fourth step is execute the statement object and return a query result. All right, so once we got the statement object, so statement object provides the execute query method. So we can use this execute query method to execute the queries and it will return a result set object. All right, and the next step is we need to process the result set objects, right? So result set object may contain some many rows. So we need to iterate over result set and we get a rows or a data from the result set. So these are the fundamental steps that that involve in a process of connecting to a database and querying to a database. All right. So let me show you the working example here. All right. So this is the simple Java class. It has a main method. All right. And notice here the steps we have so far we have discussed. Like the step one is we need to establish a connection with a MySQL database. All right. So this is the step one. And step two, once we got a connection object, we can create a statement object using this connection object. All right. So notice here we are using create statement method of connection object to create a statement object. And third step is we need to execute this query, right? So once we got a statement object, then we can call a execute query of this statement object, and we can we can execute this query, and this method will return a result set object. All right, and this result set object, we can process the result set object in order to get a data. And what we will do is we will just print this data to the console as a row. All right, so here we are getting column value into an individual variable, and we are printing that variable as a row to the console. All right, so notice here the SQL statement: select ID, name, email, country, password from the user. So user is a table, and we are just retrieving these columns from the users table. So this is just a simple demonstration. So in further videos, I am going to demonstrate from the scratch how to develop examples using JDBC API. We'll learn a lot about JDBC, how to create a table using JDBC, how to insert, how to select, how to how to update a data in a database, how to delete a data from the database, and database transactions, and how to perform a batch insert operation, batch update operation, and how to use a prepare statement or interface, how to use a statement interface, and a lot of things we'll cover in further lessons. All right. So this example is just an demonstration of the fundamental steps that are required to process or to connect to particular database and to fire or execute a query and process the result. All right. So let me quickly run this program and let me show you the output. Yeah, here we go. All right, so we got this data from the users table. All right, for example, this is the ID, this is the name, this is the email address, and this is the country, and this is the password. Notice here, and we have printed to the console, and this is out have printed this row. All right. All right. Hello, welcome back to JDBC tutorial series. In this session, we are going to learn how to connect to MySQL database with Java. Before we get started, there are some preparation work that needs to take place. So first thing is you need to make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine. If not, you can check out official website and you can download it. And let me show you how to download MySQL JDBC driver. So here you can see this is the jar option here. So you can just click on it and you can download it. Let me show you how to use MySQL Workbench in order to create a database and table. So I highly recommend you guys to use a MySQL Workbench in order to work with the MySQL database. So let me switch to the MySQL Workbench here. So let's create a database first. Type create database and give database name as JDBC underscore demo. So this is going to be our database name. Just execute it and refresh here. Yeah, here we go. The database is created. Let's create a table now. We are creating simple users table with the ID, name, email, content, password as a column name. Just execute this TDL statement, refresh. Yeah, here we go. Under JDBC underscore demo database, the users table is created. So let's have a look into the development steps. So first we are going to create a Java project in Eclipse IDE, and next we add a JDBC driver to the class path, and we establish a database connection with a MySQL database, and we create a SQL statement, and we execute a query, and finally we process the result. Alright, let's start with the step 1, that is creating a project in Eclipse IDE. Go to the file, new Java project, and give project name as JDBC and tutorial. Hit finish. Yeah, here we go. So just right click on a project, new folder, and name it as a lib. So this is a lib folder for libraries, and just copy paste that MySQL JDBC driver in a lib folder, and let's add this library to the class path. So you can also edit the Java from JDK here, and let's add a jar to the class path. Pick up from here, and here you can see we have added a jar file in a class path. Now let us verify it. Not here. Yeah, under this folder. Yeah, here we go. So let's create a packaging structure. So I give name as a net.javaguides.jdbc. So my website name is javaguides.net. So I prepare to use a domain reverse package name like this. So right click on package and give class name as a MySQL driver. So we are using MySQL database. So I give name as a MySQL driver here. Let's create a main method. All right. And let me sketch the steps that we are going to develop here. So first step is we need to establish connection, and then we create a statement. All right. So once we got a connection object, we can create a statement, and then once we create a statement, we can execute a statement by passing SQL query, and then we get a result set from the statement, and we can iterate to a result set, and we can process the result. All right, let's implement these steps. So here we'll use a resource with try with resource statement here. So Java 7 provides a feature try with resource statement to automatically close the resources. So here I'm just creating a syntax for it. All right, perfect. Now this is the syntax for try with resource. Let's create a connection. Let's get a connection object. Driver manager dot get connection, and just pass JDBC URL, and just type JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost colon 3306 slash database name. Just you create a property like use the property like use SSL equal to false. So we are not using SSL here, so let's make it a false, and username as a root and password as a root. Perfect. Now notice here we have created a connection object in a try with resource statement. So try with resource statement will automatically close the connection object. Now let's create a statement. Just call the method create statement will return our statement object here, and let's execute the query by using a statement object. Just call execute query method of statement object and just pass the SQL statement like select star from users. So notice here we have created three lines of code inside a try with resource, that is connection, statement, and result set, and all these resources should be closed after using it, right? So normally before Java 7 we use a final block, but try with resource statement will automatically close connection object, statement object, and result set object. So now let's use a while loop in order to iterate over result set. So result set holds a multiple rows, right? So for that we need to iterate using a loop. So here we are using a while loop, and let's print a rows here. So for that, what I can do here, I can take column values in individual variables like id, name, email, country, password. All right, let's get a id value first and store it in a id integer type. And let's similarly do it for name. Result set dot get string, pass column name as a name. And let's do it for email. Result set dot get string and pass here email. Let's do it for country and password. So just start coding with me so that you will learn a lot about JDBC in this tutorial series. Alright, so I will be covering a more JDBC stuff in a further sessions. So just stay with me. So now let me print all these variables on a console as a row. Alright, small typo here. Alright, so here we go. So I have printed an entire row onto the console using sysout statement. Let me summarize what we have done. So we have established a connection here, step 1, and step 2 is we have created a statement using connection object, and step 3 we have executed a SQL query, and step 4 we have processed the result. Perfect. So remember these 4 steps, so it is easy for you to write the code and just print the SQL exception to the console like this. So it's very easy, right? So now let me write a comment here like we are using try with resource statement in order to close connection object, statement object, and result set object. That makes sense, right? So remember, the resources you want to close after using it should be enclosed in a try block. Notice here I have created a connection, statement, and result set objects inside a try block. Let's run this program here. Oops. Oh, it's a mistake. Oh, I haven't provided a database name here. Small mistake. Let's give a database name here. JDBC underscore demo. And let me also insert a record here. ID equal to 1. Alright, so hit finish. So this is the Ramesh user name is Ramesh, email ID is ramesh@gmail.com, country India, password as a password 12345. Let's rerun this program. Here is a small typo. Let me fix it. Let me check the column name here. Alright. So here is a quick fix. Let's rerun this program. Yeah, here we go. The row is printed on a console. So it's perfect, right? So this is how we can establish a connection with the MySQL database, and we can write a JDBC code in order to fetch a data from the MySQL database. Thanks for. Hi, in this video, we are going to learn how to use Java JDBC to create a table in MySQL database. Alright, so in previous session, I have shown you how to connect to MySQL database using JDBC, and we have also seen how to retrieve a data from MySQL database. Alright, so before we get started, let's have a look into the installation and database setup. So you need to make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine. If not, you can download it from official website. And you also need to download a MySQL JDBC driver. So we use this driver in a coding section. We basically add this driver in a class path in order to connect to the MySQL database. Alright, so before we write a Java program using JDBC, let's create a database because we use this database in a Java program. Alright, so here I have already created a database. So in order to create a database, you need to just write a SQL statement like create database and database name here JDBC underscore demo, and you need to execute. Alright, So this is how we create a database in a MySQL workbench. So this is the detailed script that we are going to use in our Java program in order to create table programmatically. All right, let's have a look into the development steps. So I really like this slide because it outlines exactly what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is we create a simple Java project in Eclipse IDE, and we add a MySQL driver to the class path, and we establish a connection to the MySQL database, and we create a statement using connection object, and we execute the query and we process the result. Alright, let's start with step number one, that is creating a Java project in Eclipse. So I have already created a Java project in Eclipse, and let me show you how to add a driver to the class path. Right click and go to the build path, configure build path. Here we go. So this is how we can add a jar file. So I have shown in a previous videos, so you can watch my previous videos. Alright, so look at here. So in order to establish a connection with the MySQL database, we need to we need to write few line number of code. Like here, notice here I am using driver manager dot connection method, and I am passing JDBC URL, username, password in order to establish a connection to the MySQL database. Alright, so next step is, once we get a connection object, then we can create a statement here. That's correct. And notice here I am using try with resource statement in order to close the resource. So in our case, connection and statement are these are the two resources, so we need to close after using it, right? So I am using here try with resource statement in order to automatically close these resources. The next step is execute the SQL query. So once we create the statement, then we can call a execute method of statement object in order to execute the query. So notice here this execute method, it returns a boolean value here, and I'm just printing that boolean value to the console. Perfect. Now next step is process the result. I mean, we are not getting any result set here, so we're just printing result to the console. And notice here we are just printing a SQL exception to the console, so I don't want to lose any exception details. That's why I have created this standard method which logs a exception detail to the console. All right, this is the standard way in order to print the print the exception to the console. All right, so notice here the step one is we need to establish a connection, and we need to create the statement. I need to execute the statement. All right, so look at here, this is the detailed script. All right, so this is the users table. So and this is we have created a database earlier, and now we run this program, and the table will be created under JDBC underscore demo database. So here we go. I just ran the program, and it printed this detailed script on a console, and it also printed a result to the console. Why it is false? So let's have a look into the documentation here, Java doc, so that we can understand why it is printed false here. So look at here, if the result set is returned, then it should it should return true. Otherwise, in case of update and count records, it will return false. Got it? So that's why it return a false. So in case of update and counting the records, it will return a false. If it returns a result set, then it is true. All right, that's why it it is return false here. That's great. Now let's refresh this database. Here we go. The table is created in a JDBC underscore demo database. All right, this is how we typically write a JDBC program. to create a table into a database. Alright. In the next session, I will show you how to insert a data into a database. Hi, in this video, we are going to learn how to use Java JDBC to delete a data from MySQL database. Alright, so in previous sessions, I have covered how to create a table, how to insert a data, how to update the data, and how to select the data from the database using Java JDBC. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to delete a data from MySQL to the database. So before we get started, you make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine. If not, you can just check out official website. Alright. So also you need to make sure that you have downloaded MySQL JDBC driver. So we need this driver in order to connect Java program to the MySQL database. Alright. So we need to create a database before we write a Java program. Let's go ahead and let's create a database in a MySQL workbench. So either you can use a MySQL workbench or command prompt in order to create a database in a MySQL server. I have done already in my previous session, so you can have a look into it. Let's have our development steps. So we create a Java project in Eclipse. We add a driver to the class path. We get a database connection. We create a statements. Next, we execute the SQL query, and finally we process the result. So these are the development steps we need to follow in order to create a Java program to delete a record from the database. So let's switch to the Eclipse and let's have a look into the code here. So this is the main method, and here is the statement delete from users where id equal to 3. So we are basically deleting a record 3 from the users table. So I have created users table in my previous videos, so you can have a look into it. So here we have created an object and we are calling delete record method here. And notice here these are some sysout statement for debugging purpose. And here this is the get connection method, which will establish a connection with MySQL database. And notice here we no need to register a driver manually here. So after Java 6 and JDBC 4.0, we no need to manually register a driver. So because driver manager will automatically register a driver, JDBC driver for us. Whenever it finds a jar file in a class path, it will automatically register the driver. So once we establish a connection and once we got a connection object, we can create a statement like this. All right, using connection object, we can create a statement like this. And once we create a statement, then we can execute the statement by passing the SQL here. So notice here we are using execute update method and we are passing a delete SQL statement. And in a catch block, so if there are any exceptions occur in a try block, then that exception will be caught in a catch block and that exception will be printed on a console. So notice here I don't want to use any exception details. So for that I have created this particular standard method in order to log all the exception details. Alright. Alright. So this is the JDBC URL. Let me change the database name here. So this database we have created in a previous session. So notice here this is a record 3 and we are going to delete this record from users table. Alright, so pretty simple Java program. Let's run it and let's see in action. So here we go. Few of the statements are printed on a console, and let us see the MySQL workbench. Let us switch here and let's execute the statement. Yeah, here we go. The record with ID 3 is get deleted. That's perfect, right? Hi, welcome back. In my previous video tutorials, we have seen how to connect to MySQL database using JDBC, how to insert a data into MySQL database using JDBC, how to retrieve a data, how to update and delete a data with MySQL database. So far we have used JDBC statement interface to perform these operations. Now in this video, we are going to learn how to use JDBC prepare statement to perform insert, select, update and delete operations with MySQL database. Alright, let's get started. So first we will see what is a prepared statements and how to create a prepared statements and how to set up parameter values and how to execute a prepared statement and how to process the result. Alright, let's have a look into what is a prepared statement. A prepared statement is simply a prepared compile SQL statement. Prepared statement has following benefits. They make it easy to set SQL parameters, which will replace the placeholder values. They prevent against SQL dependency injection attacks, and they also make improve application. Alright, and it provides a better performance since the SQL statement is free compiled. Alright, so before we get started, there are some preparation work needs to take place. So first you need to make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine. If not, you can just check out official website and you can download and install it. And also you need to download a MySQL JDBC Driver, which we use to connect to the MySQL database. And here you can see it's a users table. We are going to use a users table with ID, name, email, country, password as a column names, and we perform insert, select, update and delete operations on this users table using JDBC prepare statement interface. All right, so let's have a look into the development steps. So I really like this slide because it outlines what we need to do. So first we create a Java project in Eclipse IDE. We add the JDBC driver, we get a connection with the MySQL database, and we create a prepare statement object using connection object. We set the parameters for placeholders and we execute the SQL query, and finally we process the result set. So these are the development steps we need to apply on all the insert, select, update and delete operations. So first we will see how to insert a data using JDBC prepare statements. So notice here I have already created a database. The database name is JDBC underscore demo. So this database I was created in my previous video tutorials, and I'm going to use the same database. So here I have also created a users table in a database. So I'm going to use this users table in order to insert a data. Alright, so this is the SQL statement that we are going to use in order to insert a data into users table. Alright, let us see some coding stuff in action. So here you can see this is the class and it has a main method and it's an entry point of our Java program. And here I have created object of this class itself and I am calling insert record method. And notice here we need to first establish a connection with the MySQL database using get connection method, and we need to pass a JDBC URL, a username and password in order to establish a connection with the MySQL database. Once we got a connection object, then we can create a prepare statement object. So we need to call a prepare statement method, and we need to pass insert SQL statement here. This is the insert SQL statement. And here notice here this is a question mark. It means that these are the placeholder. So we need to insert our values into this placeholder dynamically. So next step is setting a placeholder values. All right, so these are the standard fundamental steps you need to remember whenever you use JDBC in your project. All right, once we set up the placeholder values, then we execute the prepare statement using execute update method. All right, so execute update method will return integer value. All right, and we can also print to the console here. Just sys out and just pass this result type here. So remember, the first step is you need to establish a connection with the MySQL database. Then you need to create a prepare statement, and you need to set the values, and you need to execute. Alright, so here you can see I have handled the exception. So if there are any exception at try block, then you can cut that exception and you can print like this. Alright, so this is the standard way you can print all the exception details. That's cool, right? So you need to remember these steps like get a database connection, create a prepare statement object using connection object, set the placeholder values, and execute the prepare statement. Let's go ahead and let's run this application now. So notice here it's an important tip I am going to provide you here. This is the statement and this is the prepared statement. So notice here how the values are get replaced by the placeholder. So this is the SQL statement. It has question mark, but if you can see here, the question mark is replaced by values, because I have printed this prepare statement object to the console by using sysout statement. That's why I can able to see the placeholder values are replaced. All right. So this is how you can debug like what are the parameter you are passing to the prepare statement. So notice here in a MySQL workbench, I have just filed a select query and I can able to get a record in the users table. So this is how we insert a record into a database using JDBC prepare statement. Now let's have a look into how to retrieve a data from the users table using JDBC prepare statement. All right. So we retrieve the same record that we have inserted in previous example. So notice here the similar steps we are going to follow. You first get a connection with the MySQL database using JDBC URL and password here, and once we get a connection object, then you know uh, then we can create a prepare statement object using connection object here, and we need to pass a query here. So in our case, we need to pass a select query, and once we get a prepare statement, then we can set the placeholder value and then we can execute the query. And in this case we are retrieving the data, so we need to iterate over a result set, and we need to print data to the console. So pretty simple steps we need to follow. So notice here where I have also handled the exception here, and I have printed all the exception detail to the console. So this is the standard way you can also log the exception details to the console. So let's run the application now. So notice here I have printed a prepare statement object to the console here, and notice here the placeholder value is replaced by id equal to 1, right? And I have printed a row to the console. This is how we retrieve our data from the MySQL database table using JDBC prepare statements. Now let's have a look into how to update our data using JDBC prepare statements. Look at here, this is the sample program that I have written, and this is the main method, which is the entry point of our program. And similar steps, like we need to first establish a connection with the MySQL database using JDBC URL and username and password. And then once we get a connection object, then we can create a prepare statement object using connection object. And we need to pass a update SQL query to the prepare statement method. And here we need to set up placeholder values here. So we need to replace the question mark, right? So question mark, it means that it's a placeholder, so we need to set up the placeholder values, right? And then we will execute the query. Pretty simple steps you need to follow. And here I have handled the exception, and I have printed exception details to the console. It's pretty simple. Similar steps you need to follow to perform different operations using JDBC. All right, let's notice here the name is Tony now, and I want to update name with a Ram. All right, so let's go ahead and let's run this program, and let's see. Notice here this is a prepare statement, and the placeholder value is replaced here. All right, now let's look into these question mark values are replaced by a Ram and 1, right? So notice here, let me fire a query. Yeah, here we go. The name is get updated, right? So earlier it was Tony, now it is updated with the Ram. That's cool. So look at here, this is the simple Java program where I have written a code to delete a record from the database. So this is the delete SQL statement, and notice here we are following the similar development steps, like we need to first establish a connection with the MySQL database using get connection method, and we need to pass a JDBC URL and password. Once we get a connection object, then we can create a PreparedStatement object using PreparedStatement object using connection object, and here we need to set up a placeholder values, and then uh, we execute the method PreparedStatement using execute update method. Perfect. It's pretty simple. Similar steps we need to follow. Just run this program and let's see the output. Yeah, here we go. So now the record is deleted from the database. Let's verify. Let's open the MySQL workbench and let's verify. Yeah, here we go. The record is successfully deleted from the database. So this is how typically we perform, different database operations. Hello, in this video, we are going to learn how to use Java JDBC to perform batch insert operation with MySQL database. Alright, so sometimes we need to run bulk queries of a similar kind for a database. For example, loading a data from CSV files to relational database tables. As we know that there we have an option to use either statement or PreparedStatement interface to execute the queries. Apart from that, JDBC provides a batch processing feature through which we can execute the bulk queries in a one go for a database. Alright, so in this video, I am going to show you how to use statement interface as well as PreparedStatement interface to perform batch insert operation. Alright, so statement and PreparedStatement interface, both interface provides a add batch and execute batch methods. So we can use these methods to perform batch insert, update, and delete operations. Alright. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to perform batch insert operation, and in upcoming video, I will show you how to perform batch update operation. Alright. So before we get started, there are some preparation step needs to be take place. For example, you need to make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine, and you need to make sure that you will create a database before writing a Java program. Alright, so this is the table we are using. So users table we need to create in a database. So I will show you that in a minute. So first we create a JDBC batch operation, batch insert operation using statement interface. So here are the steps. So first we establish a connection with the MySQL database, then we create a statement object, then we add a commands to add batch method, and we execute a batch statement using execute batch method, and we'll be using try with resource statements to automatically close JDBC resources. Alright, so here you can see I have already created a JDBC underscore demo database. So and I have also created a users table in JDBC underscore demo database. Alright, let's have a look into the example here. So this is a simple batch insert example with statement interface. So this is the main method and its entry point of our application, and here we are calling batch insert method from the main method. And notice here these are the fundamental steps that we need to develop. Like we need to first establish a connection with the MySQL database, and once we get a connection object, then we need to create a statement. And notice here we are using try with resource statement in order to close the JDBC resources. And again we are we are setting auto commit as a false, because we need to perform batch operations and we need to group all the SQL statements as a single transaction. For that we need to disable the auto commit mode. Alright, and notice here we are adding insert statement using add batch methods. That's great, right? So look at here what the add batch method says here. So if you want to know more about these methods, so what you can do here is you can just mouse over it and you can read the Java doc. Alright, and here we need to execute a batch statement using execute batch method, and it returns an array of integer values. Alright, so simple steps. Perfect. So as usual, we need to handle the exception in a catch block. If there are any exception in a try block, it will be caught in a catch block, and that exception will be printed onto the console. So these are the standard ways we need to print exception details to the console over like this. All right. So I have explained all these things in a previous video tutorials. Just to have a look into it. All right. So let's go ahead and let's run this program and let us see the output. All right. So we have a database and table in place in a MySQL workbench, and now we have just executed the Java program. Now let us see the result in a table. Yeah, here we go. We successfully, inserted five records into a database table. All right, that's great. Yeah, we were successfully, performed batch insert statement using statement interface. Now let us see how to use prepare statement interface. So similar steps we need to follow here. We need to establish a connection, and then we need to create a prepare statement. We need to add SQL commands using add batch method, and we need to execute the add batch statement, and we use try with resource statement to automatically close the JDBC resource. All right, let's have a look into the example here. So here we are using prepare statement interface. All right. So previous example we have used statement interface. Look at here. The main difference is in prepare statement we are using single insert SQL statement, and we are dynamically inserting a records. All right. And here you can see the placeholders. We need to replace a placeholders, right? In case of prepare statement provides methods in order to set values or set up parameters. So look at here, the similar steps we are going to follow here. The first step is we need to establish a connection with the MySQL database, and we need to pass a JDBC URL, username and password. And once we get a connection object, then we can create a prepare statement object. And here also we need to perform a kind of a transaction, like we need to first disable auto commit mode here in order to perform a transaction with a group of statements. Notice here we are again calling add batch method after each record inserted into database by using prepare statement. That's great, right? Now once we add a batch, then we can execute the batch statement using execute batch, and here you can see we finally commit the transaction using commit method. So I will cover transaction management in a JDBC in my upcoming video. So just subscribe to this YouTube channel so you will get notified. All right. So here let's go ahead and let's run this program. Yeah, here we go. We got a success output, and notice here we are inserting 4 records using prepare statement interface. Let's execute this query and let's have a look into the output. Let's have a look into the result of this table. Yeah, here we go. 4 records are successfully inserted. That's perfect. So this is how typically we perform batch insert operation using prepare statement interface. All right, it's pretty simple, right? Hi, in this video, we are going to learn how to use Java JDBC to perform batch update operation with MySQL database. So in previous video tutorial, I have shown you how to use Java JDBC to perform batch insert operation with MySQL database. All right, so we can use either prepare statement or statement interface to perform batch update operation. All right, so make sure that you have installed MySQL database, and you need to also download MySQL JDBC driver, and you need to add a class path, and also you make sure that you create a database before writing a Java program. All right, so this is the table we are going to create, and So we use a statement interface first to perform JDBC batch update operation. So here are the steps. So first we establish a connection with MySQL database, and we create a statement object using connection object. We add SQL commands using add batch method, and we execute batch statement using execute batch method, and we use try with resource statement to automatically close the JDBC resources. So these are the few steps we need to implement. All right, let's have a database setup here. So I have already created a JDBC underscore demo database, and we have a user table with some records in place. All right, and we are updating few of the records, by using batch update operation. All right, so let's have a look into the example here now. So this is a class, and it's a main method, and this is the entry point of our program, and here is a batch method, and we need to first establish connection with the MySQL database. So this is the first step you need to do, and basically we use get connection method, and we pass JDBC URL and username and password in order to establish a connection with the MySQL database. All right, and the second step, once we get a connection object, then we can create a statement using connection object. All right, and here notice here we are disabling the auto commit mode. All right, so because we are performing a batch update operation here, we are basically grouping multiple statements as a transaction, so that's why we need to disable auto commit. And if you enable auto commit, then by default JDBC will execute each statement as a transaction, each individual statement as a transaction. So but in our case we want to execute all the statements in a single transaction, right? So that's why we need to auto or disable the auto commit. And here we have executed the statement, and here we need to commit the transaction after performing the database operation. And notice here these are the standard steps we basically follow in order to create JDBC examples. All right, so look at here in a try block. If there are any exception, then it will be caught in a catch block, and the exception details will be printed on the console. So as usual, these are the standard ways we need to maintain in order to display exception details to the console. So here I have just run this program, and here we got a success output. And basically, you notice here we are updating 4 records with some ID. Let's have a look into the result here. Yeah, here we go. We successfully updated name column. All right. So this is how we update a batch update operation. Now let's look at same example by using PreparedStatement interface. So similar steps we need to follow, like first we need to establish a connection with the MySQL database, then we need to create a PreparedStatement object using connection object, and then we need to add a SQL commands or statements using add batch method, and we execute the batch method, and we use basically try with resource statement to automatically close the JDBC resources. All right, let me open the example using PreparedStatement interface over here. Don't worry, you can get the source code from my write-up tutorial. I will be provide a link. So this is how we basically perform a batch update operation using PreparedStatement. So look at here, we have maintained a single update SQL statement, and we are dynamically adding records by using PreparedStatement methods, and we are calling add batch method after each row. Right, so pretty easy. You can either use a statement interface or PreparedStatement interface in order to perform batch operations. So we can now we can execute the batch, and we can print you know output to the console. It's pretty simple. All right, so similar steps we have done here. So we are using try with resource statement in order to close connection object PreparedStatement object. And notice here we are updating of 4 records, and also we are using the transaction over here, and these are the exception details that we are printing to the console. Pretty simple program. Alright, let's go ahead and let's run this program and let's see the output now. So notice here we are updating 4 records, and basically let me change the name ID here. So ID is the ID in a table starts with 2, right? So that's why I have changed the ID here. Let me run this program now. Yeah, here we go. We got a success output. All right, this is let me check in a table. Yeah, here we go. The column name is get updated, right? So this is how typically we perform batch update operation using prepare statement interface. So basically these interfaces provides add batch and execute batch methods. With the help of these methods we can perform batch operations. Welcome back to another tutorial on Java JDBC. In this tutorial we will learn how to use transactions with JDBC. Alright, so we'll learn a lot about transactions in this video tutorial. So first we'll see what is a transaction, and then next what are the ACID properties that defines a transaction successfully, and we develop transaction with JDBC. So basically I create a small Java program and I demonstrate how to use JDBC transactions. Alright, so what is a transactions? A transaction is basically a unit of work. To keep it simple, a transaction is a set of SQL operations that needs to be executed successfully or not at all. Alright, you can execute multiple statements together based on your application. If everything is okay, all of these statements are executed together. This is known as a commit. And if there is a problem, then none of the statements are executed. This is known as rollback. A database must satisfy the ACID properties to guarantee the success of a transaction. That is a database transaction. So ACID properties are the standards which guarantees the success of database transaction. Alright, so ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So these factors are important in order to achieve a successful database transaction. So if you want to learn more about ACID properties, then just you can Google out, you can read this what ACID more about ACID properties. Alright, so by default auto commit is set to true. So we need to explicitly make it as a false by calling set autocommit method. In JDBC API, the connection interface provides the set autocommit, commit, and rollback methods to perform transaction management. Alright, so here are the steps that need to perform transaction management. So first we need to disable the autocommit mode by passing false value to set autocommit method, and we need to call the commit method to commit the transaction if all the statements are executed successfully, and if there are any statements fails, then we call the rollback method to cancel the entire transaction. Alright, so in this example we are going to use a simple database table, that is users with ID, name, email, content, password. So I will show you this database setup in a minute. Alright, so this is the code snippet. So at beginning we need to set auto commit mode as a false, or we need to disable the auto commit mode, and after that we can execute a multiple statement like insert statement, update statement, or delete statement, and these statements are grouped as a transaction, and then we can commit the transaction by using commit method. Alright, so if any of the statement fails, then we need to roll back the transaction, right? So for that we use a rollback method, and we can roll back the entire transaction. Alright, so basically connection interface offers these methods to perform a transaction management. Alright, let's switch over to the Eclipse and let us see this is in action. So this is a simple Java class, that is a JDBC transaction example, and here you can see this is a JDBC URL, username, password, and this is a main method. And here first we get a database connection. All right, so basically we call get connection method, and we pass JDBC URL, username and password in order to get a database connection. So in this example, we are using MySQL database. All right, and here you can see we are creating a prepare statement. So once we got a connection object, then we can create a prepare statement object. All right, so let me comment here, like we are using try with resource statement in order to close the JDBC resources automatically. So before Java 7, we need to use a try with we need to use a finally block in order to close the resources, right? So notice here we are creating a two prepare statement objects, one for insert statement and one for update statement. All right. So before that, we have disabled the auto commit mode, and this is a create insert statement, and this is a create update statement. So we are performing multiple SQL statements. All right, and then we commit the transaction using commit method. All right, so if there any statement fails, then it we need to roll back the transaction, right? So for that, we can call the rollback method and we can roll back the entire transaction. Pretty simple, right? So let me show you the important transactions related methods that connection interface offers. So this is the internal implementation of connection interface, and yeah, here we go. This is the set auto commit. This method get auto commit method commit rollback. So these are the few APIs the connection interface offers in order to work with a transaction management in JDBC. All right. So as usual, we just print the exception details to the console in a standard way. All right. So this is a very simple Java program that demonstrates how to use a transactions with JDBC. All right. So notice here this is database setup. We have created JDBC underscore demo database in earlier video tutorials, and we have also created a users table. All right. Now we have a database and tables in place. Now we can just run the program and let us see the output. All right, let's go ahead and let's run this program, and here we go. The Now let's check the database here. Yeah, here we go. The record is successfully inserted and also updated. So in case of insert, the name was Tony, and in case of update statement, the Tony name is replaced by Ram. All right, so this is typically we can perform multiple statements as a single transaction. It's pretty simple, right? Yeah, this is important for beginners to understand how to how to perform a transactions using JDBC. All right, hello, in this video we are going to learn how to use Java JDBC to dynamically insert multiple rows into MySQL database. All right, so this is one of the common requirement for Java developer to insert multiple records dynamically into a table using JDBC. So consider we have user Pojo class and we will create a list of user objects. Then we will dynamically insert all the user objects with a single insert SQL statement. So I will demonstrate this in a coding section. I will write a Java program and I will demonstrate this. All right. So before we get started, there are some preparation work that needs to take place. So you need to make sure that you have installed MySQL database in your machine, and make sure that you download MySQL JDBC driver, and make sure that you have created a database in a MySQL server. Alright, so we create a users table with ID, name, email, country, password as a column names. We use this script to create a table in a MySQL database. Alright, let's have a look into the development steps. So this slide is really useful because it outlines exactly what we need to do. So we establish a connection with a MySQL server, and we create a preparation object using connection object, and we iterate over a user objects and dynamically insert as a batch, and we execute a batch statement. And basically we use try with resources statement to automatically close the JDBC resources. All right. So before Java 7, we use a binary block in order to close the JDBC resources. Alright, and Java 7 provides a cool feature, that is try with resource feature, in order to close the JDBC resources automatically. Alright, let's have a look into the database setup here. So we have created a JDBC underscore demo database in previous video tutorials, and we are going to use the same. And I have also created users table. Alright, so let's have a look into the coding section now. So notice here, this is a simple user Pojo class with ID, name, email, content, password fields, and the user class has a parameterized constructor and getter setter methods. And notice here, I have mapped a column name with properties class fields. Alright, so here we have a main method, and inside a main method we have a user list object, and I have added 4 user records to the list. Alright, so these are the 4 user objects to the list. Now we are going to dynamically insert all these 4 records with a single SQL statement. Alright, so this is the insert into user. This is a single SQL statement we are using to dynamically insert 4 records. So you can insert as many as records you want. Alright, so let me outline the steps here. So first step, what we need to do is we need to establish a connection with the MySQL server. We use JDBC URL and password, URL, username and password in order to connect to the MySQL database. Alright, so this is the first step. Once we got a connection object, then we can create a prepare statement and we pass the SQL statement to it. Alright, and this is the SQL statement that we need to pass to the prepare statement method. And notice here, this is a single statement. So we can, it is a static it is a static SQL statement, so we can make it as a constant. Let's declare here and let's use static final to make it a constant. Now notice here we are using transaction here. So when a connection is created, it is in a auto commit mode. This means that each individual SQL statement is treated as a transaction and is automatically committed right after it is executed. So the way allow 2 or more statements to be grouped into a transaction. So if you want to group multiple statements as a transaction, so we need to disable this auto commit mode, right? So that's why I made it a false. Now let's here we need to use add batch method. So here we are iterating over a list of users and we are setting values and we are calling add batch method. And notice here we are executing a batch using execute batch API method. Alright, and here execute batch method returns array of integer values, and that we have printed here. So pretty simple, right? So first step is we need to get a database connection. We need to prepare statement object, and we need to iterate over a user list, and we need to add a batch, and we need to execute the batch. Pretty simple. And notice here we are using try with resource statement in order to close the JDBC resources automatically. So before Java 7, we were using finally block in order to close the JDBC resources like connection object, prepare statement, result set, etc. But after Java 7 provided try with resource statement to automatically close the resources. So look at here, we have handled the exceptions here. In a catch block, this is the separate private method we have written in order to print the update batch details, and if there are any SQL exceptions, then we have printed all the exception details to the console here. So basically in real-time projects we don't lose any exception details, so we log all the exception details. Let's go ahead and let's run this application and let's see the demo. Yeah, here we go. The output is printed on the console. It means that 4 records are inserted. Yeah, here we go. My MySQL workbench, you can see here 4 records are inserted in users table. That is cool, right? So our program is working fine now, and we are able to insert multiple rows dynamically into MySQL database. All right.